Here we go again. Another Khan Academy tutorial, this time on graphs of inequalities. This is Mr. West, and you're watching West Explains Best. Today, we are going to be doing inequalities with two variables. It's really not that bad. I'm going to show you how to do it. It's like a four-step process. Let's get right into it. Which graph represents 7x minus 2y is less than or equal to 5? Okay, now, one thing we don't like, well, it's not that we don't like it, but it just makes it a lot easier if we get this into slope-intercept form. If you're not sure what that is, you should be watching a different video first. So we want to get it into slope-intercept form first. That means solve for our buddy y. Okay, let's go ahead and show that step. I'm going to go ahead and do that purple step over here. So we have 7x minus 2y less than or equal to 5. I'm trying to get the y by itself. A couple different ways you can do this. Just remember, if you divide or multiply with an inequality, you have to flip the sign. So I'm going to go ahead and show it this way. You could also add 2y to both sides, but I'm going to show subtracting 7x from both sides. So we get negative 2y is less than or equal to 5 minus 7x. Now I need to get the y alone, so I got to divide by negative 2. I'm going to show that in a different color, actually. Divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. What does that do? We need to flip the sign. This is like a red alert. Anytime we multiply or divide by negative, it's a red alert. We get y. Oops, I forgot where's the 5? Oh, it's right there. Okay. So we have 5. Oh, I got to divide the 5 by negative 2 also, both terms. So we get 5 divided by negative 2, and I get negative divided by negative. I'm going to get 7 over 2x like this. Okay, so now we have it in slope-intercept form. This is much better for us, and I'll explain why in a moment. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2, let's do green. Step 2, we have to identify our boundary line. Identify boundary line. What do I mean by that? Well, the boundary line is what we're going to graph, okay? It's either going to be solid or dotted. So let's just take a look here at the different options. You can see that we have some dotted ones. A and B are dotted or dashed, however you want to say it. And C and D are solid, okay? So how do we distinguish the difference? It's pretty easy. All we have to do is this. If it's less than or greater than, we are going to use a dotted line. That means it cannot be equal to the values that are on the line. If it's greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, we're going to use a solid line because it can be equal to those values. So fairly simple there. So if we're looking at our guy for step 2, we see that he is going to be a solid line. So we already know A and B are off the table for options. Okay, so that's another easy thing about this particular Khan Academy. We just look at the dotted or dashed line and also the solid line, and we can eliminate some choices there. So now we're down to a 50-50 C and D. So even if we guessed at this point, we'd have a 50-50 chance. Not too bad, but let's get to 100%. Okay, the final, or this isn't the final. This is the third step. Is we are going to graph the line. Graph the line. Okay, and I think all of these are graphed the same. We're going to use our y-intercept, which I don't like written like this. I would much rather write it y equals greater than or equal to negative 5. I always put the negative in the top. It makes it much easier to do mathematics, in my opinion. This is equivalent of negative 2.5. Okay, but we're going to look for, where does it show something like this? Okay, well, all the graphs are graphed exactly the same. All the lines are graphed exactly the same. Okay, but essentially what we're going to use is we're going to plot the y-intercept. For those that don't remember slope-intercept form, I'm helping you out here. I'm doing you a favor. But really, you should go watch some of those videos I've already posted. Plot y-intercept, use slope to find second point. You only need 2 points on the line. If you want to put more, it actually helps you, but at least if you're doing it by hand, but you only need 2 points to graph a line. All right, fourth and final step, this is the shading part. So let's go ahead and use blue. That's kind of like our last color we haven't used. So we are going to shade. Now, how are we going to shade? Well, we're not going to throw shade, okay? We're just going to shade either above or below the line. Look at C, okay, and D. See the difference. One is shaded below, one is shaded above, so how do you know which way to go? Well, we're going to look at which direction the y is being shown. in relation to the inequality. So if we have y is greater than or y is greater than or equal to, we are going to shade above the line, shade above, okay, with an arrow. If it is y is less than or y is less than or equal to, okay, so if y is less than the values, then we are going to, you guessed it, shade below. Okay, and I have a great video that explains that, the CUDA worksheet tutorial on why that's the case. There's also another video with the notes, advanced topics notes, if you want to check that out. But essentially, it just means that all the solutions are below the line, okay, the points below. For example, if we're looking at this graph, or if it's shading below. In this case, we're looking at the inequality, and it says y is greater than, so we are going to shade above the line. So this is shade above. So what we're going to do here is it's going to be option C. And what that means is all the solutions that make the inequality true are either on the line because it can be equal to, or these points, if you plug them in for x and y, for example, 0, 8, if you were to plug 0 and 8 in for x and y into this inequality, either in this form, it doesn't matter which one you plug it into, or this one, it would make a true statement. So that's what that means. All these points make true statements, and if you were to go on the opposite side, all these points would be false statements. So that's why the solution set is all this. You shade above the line, okay? A lot of people get confused on what's above the line and what's below the line. The easiest way to tell is you pick a point, preferably your y-intercept, and then you just look above on the y-axis, pick a spot, and then anything that's there you're going to shade, okay? So that's how you shade above the line or below the line. Again, I explained it a little bit more detail in the CUDA worksheet tutorial on linear inequalities, but we're going to pick C, and we're going to move on and do this quick now. Oh, when did I do the first problem? I started on 2. What a bummer. You guys only get 3 problems, or 2 problems. Oh, boy. Oh, well. So which graph represents 2x plus 3y is less than or equal to 6? Again, we want it in y equals mx plus b form, okay, slope-intercept form, so we're going to subtract 2x, we're going to subtract 2x, we're going to get that's 3y. We're going to get 3y is less than or equal to negative 2x and then plus 6. We're going to divide by 3 to both sides, and by both terms, we get y is less than or equal to negative 2 over 3x. I like doing that for my slope, okay, I like putting the coefficient in front of x. And then plus 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, so now we know our y-intercept is 2. We know we have a negative slope, and it looks like all of these are already graphed like that, okay? Second step, we're going to identify our boundary line, okay? It's greater than or less than or equal to. So we know it's not going to be any dotted lines, so we're looking at A, we're looking at UC, okay? Final step, we're going to determine if we shade below or above the line. Okay, so we already graphed our line. Okay, that was the third step. We're going to see if we shade above or below. Because it's y is less than or equal to, we shade below. Okay, let me review what that looks like. I'm going to go down to the correct answer, C here. We already know it's C. But we pick a point, our y-intercept preferably, and then we pick a point below that on the y-axis right there, and we know we're going to shade all these points below that line that are on the same side. So we shade below. Option C is our guy. Check it. Okay, so really kind of a quick sum up there. It helps when it's already in y is less than or equal to mx plus b form. And but essentially, I hope you guys got the gist of it. See some of my other videos if you are inclined to learn a little bit more. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next.